So, and these 4 junior lawyers were working under this a big lawyer. And after few years, these junior lawyers come out of that firm and start their own law practicing firm. Is it a wrong thing that they did? It is all right. Are everybody okay with it? Is it okay? Can they start their firm on their own? Because every experience that they got is from the big lawyer, the senior lawyer. It is not wrong. Now, uh, I'll just change the case a little bit. Now, if the junior lawyers, if there is an evidence that one of the persons in this junior lawyers had taken out, say for example, in any of the law firms, there'll be precedents, means for any of the cases that it has to attend, they'll take precedents, means they'll take a prior done case, they'll show this as an example and say, uh, that case which is similar, which was similar to this, the judgment was given like this, so we plead the judgment to be given in the similar lines and so on. So the precedents will be there, like the prior judgments and all. So there was a library of information which was collected by them, right? And if somebody will hold, or if one among these 4 lawyers will take away that, will this be considered as a breach? If one of those lawyers, the junior lawyers, will take away the precedence of the cases that they did, will this be considered as a breach? As a theft of a secret? Will it be considered as a theft of a trade secret? Yes, but these cases generally are available everywhere. So always, whenever it is a litigation that comes up, it is always situational in nature. It's circumstantial. So it depends on the circumstances. Now, if the same precedents are being taken away, and also the list of clientele that the senior lawyer is serving, if all these are being taken away, then obviously this forms to be a theft of the trade secret, right? And nobody, though he doesn't have any valid agreement in between these two, but still on the equitable grounds, this is treated as a theft, and the people are eligible to be, right? So here the actual secret matter is one of the things, because clientele information is always secret, right? And also it adds economic value that comes into picture. The other thing is, it's I take gold. Say for example, gold is a very valuable asset. Now I take gold, I preserve it in one of the locker, right? I preserve that gold in one of the very good locker, very sophisticated locker, that has a very good key, sophisticated system to open it. Now I would go back and do not hide my key in a proper place. Right? I would go back and I do not hide my key in a proper place. So is that what a good measure that I am taking? No, because till the time I hid my gold in a safe place, I'm safe. But the key is also my responsibility to keep it very safe, because if breach happens, if at all breach happens, so this is the information actually that they're going to test it first. So the first thing that, if at all a breach happens, that was going to be tested is, the first thing that they tested is the information really categorized? Is it confidential in nature or not? Yes, if it is confidential, then what was the limitation of the information that you shared? Was it available to all the employees or all the people across? Or was it only given to certain set of people which it thought to be valid enough or worthy enough to share with? So these two go into picture. The third thing, What were the measures or precautions that were taken by the owner to safeguard such information? He'll call it a confidential information, but what if he doesn't safeguard it? So it depends on the owner's responsibility to take reasonable precautions. When we say reasonable precautions, this example, this analog comes into picture. It's not that I keep them safe in a safe locker, but I should also like keep the lock also in a safe place. The other thing, now I store my lock in a key in a very safe place. I go on a public transport. I speak to all the people about where I kept my key. Is it a reasonable precaution that I have taken? Obviously, no. So a secret should really be a secret. And the measures that I take to safeguard my confidential information should be a confidential information in nature, right? And who should take the reasonable precautions? It's the owner who have to take the reasonable precautions of the confidential or the secretive information that he prefers to be held as a trade secret. There is a third essential agreement which goes on with trade secret. Means, in case if there is a breach that is happened, breach means some person would take away your secret, illegal, unauthenticated. So in such cases, then it is the responsibility of the owner to prove that that the breach has happened, and the breach on a confidential information is what has happened, and it is the owner's responsibility to highlight the what kind of precautions were being taken. But in spite of that, if the breach happens, then the court, in front of the case can be taken to the court of done. So these three essential agreements have to be made in case if any breach happens. So the first and foremost thing, the qualification of the matter itself. So the subject matter, which is disputable in nature, it should be secretive in nature, and also it should have an economic impact on the business. The second thing, the owner should always take reasonable precautions in safeguarding his confidential or secretive information. Third thing, it is on the burden of proof lies on the owner, to prove the breach, if at all it has happened. Fine. So these three are the essential agreements to fight any cases with related to the trade secrets. Now, when we say confidentiality, confidence in sharing, whenever, say for example, there is a huge firm like Coca-Cola, right? Now, Coca-Cola's formula, it can't be kept secretly only with the person who actually manufactures it, because there are multiple factories that the formulation should go, and in multiple factories, the production would actually go, and most of the production comes out in many of the units that we manufacturing units. Now, what will happen if this information has to be shared inevitably, right? It has to be shared at least to few of the people, and then from then on it can be managed. So, whenever such information is shared, what's the confidence or the confidentiality matter that you share? It depends on how many layers are you exposing this information. Whenever you say that it is confidential in nature, and it happens even with your thesis, sometimes patentable matter will be there, right? These patentable matters usually we do not disclose, but we write in mails. We put them all these confidential matters inside our mail, and we send it to our friend. Sometimes this also can be missent to somebody else. So how do you have a tap on that? So whenever you send such information, whenever such information is being transacted, it is always better to use confidential and private. Private and confidential are the terms which we use to denote that it is ours, right? And there is a confidence that in the terms that I share, right? And the second thing, the same example of Coke, if Coke reveals it to one of its managers, what are the measures that it is taking? There'll be some sort of agreements that run in between employee and the employer. The first one is the code of conduct, right? what are the do's, what are the not to do's, list of that. The second thing that goes on is apart from your code of conduct is your NDA, non-disclosure agreements, and to the extent that you can disclose. Fine. Uh, so it depends on what sort of information. The second thing is the classification of the information. And see, not all the information about code will be revealed to all its employees, right? Even your information, if you take the example of your own classes, it's not every information that you get from your superiors is not going to be transformed to your like procedures, right? You only give them a little bit of information rather than giving them or supplying them with the full information. Hemant Kumar, can you please mute your speaker? Hemant, can you please mute it? Dhanalakshmi and Hemant. Guys, can you please mute? Dhanalakshmi and Hemant, can you please mute yourselves? Thank you. So, usually what happens is, whenever we tend to share the information, it depends on not all the information which is confidential is shared on the first go. So you will have levels, tier A or the hierarchy A people will get some information. The tier B will get some information. The tier C will be getting some part of the information. Not each and every part of the information is shared. That is called the strategy in which the information will be shared. Right. So it always depends on what information is being shared and to what extent and the people to whom you share the information. And even in the projects that we deal, say for example, if A is a person who handles one of the project and he finishes his job, say for example, if A is working on a project on 2 days and B gets on to that information and his job only is for a 3 days. So whenever breach happens, the effective measures, the second point that we discussed, the reasonable precautions, under this, people will verify whether A, upon finishing of his work, has been terminated from the access of this particular information or not. Even likewise with B, B might not start his work on day one. So on day one, he need not have access to secretive information. So only on the day that he starts working, he got to have that access. And immediately after he is done with his work, the access should be cut off. Right. So all these limited measures should be done. And as I told you, non-obviousness of the information is a critical component, which usually is a matter of debate. Because it could be obvious to me, but to the people in breach, it couldn't be obvious. For example, there had been a popular a bank. I'll just tell you, American Express. Right. This American Express had an office at New Delhi. Right. And there was a lady who was working as a head of wealth management at that particular office. And, she joined that in 2000, and she actually left the organization in 2005. So it was 5 years that she managed as a head in the wealth management of that particular company. So she had all the access, all the information of the clients who were able to actually, who had bought in huge investments, huge amounts of investments, right? So by the time that she left, American Express actually came to know she that she had actually an exhaustive list of a large number of customers and also their investment accounts. So when American Express came to know about this, they actually asked her to return back all the information. But when she said that she doesn't have all that information, it went to Delhi court also, saying that this was the case, and though she was aware of code of conduct, and though she also signed a non-disclosure agreement, but still she actually had a hands-on on such information, and she is moving to the other competitive firm. And after everything of all the courts, things. Actually, the American Express asked an injunction on her job. Like they asked the court to stop her working like job with the other firm as well. But it couldn't happen because when the information was sorted out, the information of the people or the clients of American Express, when it was dissected or when it was, verified, it was not considered to be a very secretive information, right? And so that was the reason why that lady, she could not be restrained from soliciting those customers. Point one. And the second point, that lady actually could not be restrained from using that information because that it is it's not at all, whenever she met the clients themselves would come forward and say that this is the amount that I wanted to invest and these are my details, so you suggest. It was not classified under confidential information which she was about to violate. So that's the reason why there was no the court was unable to pass on an injunction on her working status. Fine till here. Any doubts? Yeah, please raise your hands. Okay. So what's the difference or distinctiveness of a trade secret? When compared with patents, any idea or a device, it could either go as a patent. So why trade secrets, or when should trade secrets be obtained or be opted compared to a patent? See, I have an idea, I have a device, say for example, or I have a process. Processes are much better to discuss. So I have a process, and this process, should I just go with a patent, or should I opt it to keep it as a trade secret? So what makes me decide in between these? Whenever tug of war happens between these two, IP, the main strength of an IP, of course, when you compare these two, patent is much more stronger than a trade secret, right? Enforcement is much more easier in with patent rather than a secret. So when compared with other forms of IP, this has no mandatory requirements because it is my secret. It is upon me how long can I hold it, what strategies would I adopt to hold it. But if I hold it for a longer time, more than 20 years of age, if the secret is being held, then I would automatically get an edge of this particular idea. Rather than keeping it as a patent, I would definitely have a longer time if it is kept as a trade secret, right? So it is always the owner's discretion as to how robust can he maintain it. And if at all he will maintain, then it is always better to prefer a trade secret, especially in the nutraceutical space, or in the Ayurvedic, or in the formulation stage, trade secrets play a very vital role there. And there are certain rights, as soon as the pharma patents, as soon as they expire, it doesn't come into public domain. Anybody can't manufacture uh, 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 a patent, abandoned patent, or a patent which is not, which doesn't have a lifetime. They can't just pick it up since it comes into public domain and can't manufacture it because it is held with certain rights called as marketing rights as well, right? And in this, there will be a trade secret information where the effectiveness of the drug actually has to be established for it to be protected as a trade secret, right? For it to be protected as for it to be distributed as a drug. So this part of the information, the effectiveness of the drug, is usually classified under trade secret, which the other company has to be proving it in order to get a license to market the drug. So at that time also trade secrets play a very, very major vital role. The other advantages of that, there are no registration costs. I know I said it is a costly affair. The costly affair is in keeping a secret, right? The measures that you follow in keeping a secret. But to register that as compared to patent, as you compare it with any of the other forms of IP, it is absolutely free. Trade secrets have no registration cost because you don't register itself. Point one. The other thing, there is no defined term of protection. As I told you, it is perpetual. It could be lifetime, it could be 10 years, it could be one day, it could be hours. So it is always perpetual. The other thing, it offers immediate effective protection. You know, for patent, you just got to patent, the protection comes, you know, you can practice it as soon as you get a, as soon as you file a patent. But here, to sue whenever the breach happens or infringement happens for a patent, the damages can be claimed only after a grant of the patent. But here, immediately you can protect a trade secret. You can strengthen your safeguarding measures. And there are no disclosures or no registrations even with the government. So it is easier, faster, quicker. But when you compare it with when you look at the disadvantages, you should imbibe very stronger business strategies or strong strategies in order to safeguard your patents, your trade secrets. Second thing, you always are at a risk of having a perpetual period of existence. You can't predict how long can your trade secret exist, right? The other thing, if a fair discoveries are being made, right? You have a trade secret for which a patent is being filed by some other person unknowingly. You have no barriers. Barriers are refrained here in this case. And the other person, if he files a patent, he can happily, if he gets a grant on that, he can happily enjoy, right? So fair discoveries are always a threat for the trade secrets. And most importantly, it is weaker than a patent protection. So it depends on how, what discretion, what kind of strategies you adopt. Fine till here. The other thing, so what about in India? As we discussed, there is no exclusive law in India. No exclusive law. It's only by law of contracts. And what parts of the contracts that we use, it's NDA and restrictive covenants that we use. Like restrictive NDA means non-disclosure agreements. Usually when two people discuss it, there is a non-disclosure agreement that happens, that wraps upon in between them. And the other way that we look upon is, for each and every employee who is nowadays entering into the firms, especially the R&D related or anything which deals with any confidential information, then people are usually restricted in sharing their work or the projects that they do by means of these NDAs, right? Non-disclosure agreements. So it's not only in between the people, but it also holds good when the employee discloses something to the public. So be careful whenever you get signing all these NDA documents, you are not supposed to disclose anything to the outside world. Other than, even to your peers or even to your colleagues when you start working on the similar projects, you are not supposed to disclose until and unless there is a written submission. There'll be a clause in NDA to decide as to what makes you or what enables you to disclose this to your peers, right? So it will be, the information will be there, and based on that only you got to tell or disclose this information. No matter, both of you might be working on the similar project, but this holds good. And restrictive covenants, actually, to what extent can you disclose is also one of the matters, right? It is not only to whom that you disclose, but what would you disclose? Is it everything? Say, for example, under a team lead, there would be several people who would be working on the same project. But it's not all the information would not be percolated to all the members. Only certain bit of information would be permitted, whereby this lead would be able to share only certain amount of information to each of the team members. And it depends on what kind of information he shares, what sort he shares, and things like that. And where do you see actually these trade secrets? Anywhere. It's not here and there, anywhere, right? The methodologies that you adopt, say, for example, even as students, some people might prefer following one book. Some people might be drawing in 2 or 3 books and preparing the notes and going sport, right? So it depends on how, and some people not only studying but also representing also, right? You represent in different ways, and so all the wherever you think that information has to be kept secret, it is. So wherever new inventions are there that are not yet to be filed, say for example, I am developing something, but the world doesn't know that I develop it until I file a patent. But in order to file a patent, I would do my background research, right? So till it is filed as a patent, it is a secretive information to me, right? It is a trade secret. So that information which is not yet filed as a patent, but still holds good to be held as a patent, is or holds good to be a new invention, is a trade secrets for any manufacturing. Yeah, yeah. Companies, especially for startups, trade secrets are very important for the company to survive. Yeah, confidential information must be protected and can be given access based on absolutely. I told you, like there'll be layers or restrictive covenants in place as to who should know what. Not everybody will be knowing everything, right? So it depends on, yeah. Any doubts? So it depends on what information should be shared with whom. Point one. The second thing that comes into picture, especially for the startups, the first point that we are discussing, where do I see my trade secrets, new inventions that are not yet filed as patents. Startups do not immediately file patents, or immediately they do not go for, right, for such kind of, right, for such kind of works. Usually people would not go for patents, but yet it is actually the secretive information for them. So all such secretive information should be held as a trade secret itself. No, relaxations for them. And in manufacturing techniques also, there'll be many know-how that comes into picture, and most of them, 99.99% of the manufacturing techniques have their trade secrets embedded upon usage, which actually unfolds in the process. And value-based prioritizations, yes, when value-based prioritizations are also a good, like we give priorities, like value, as I said, giving a different percentages to different trades, or I speed and fast track few of the projects, right? So these are also the prioritizations that are there, and the basis on the prioritizations also will be a kind of a sort of trade secrets for them. And formulations are n number of formulations, and each of them, the amount of oil that you add to the amount of water and the miscibility that you get, all the formulations, what amount of drug, and most of the almost all the formulations have a trade secret, no matter how long they disclose them in your patents. And in a house test, yeah, that convert as trails, yeah, trails and all also remain as trade secrets. Marketing and business strategies, of course, these are without any doubt regarded to be a trade secret of any firm, right? You go just to a normal like footpath shop owner, you go buy a car, she gives you some other rate. You go on a bicycle, she tells you, proposes you another rate. But the rates, the pricing that she proposes would be different for different buyers, right? So all these are business strategy for her. Until and unless you give that cost to this person, he would not be affording enough to buy that, right? Computer algorithms, there had been a much greater debate with respect to computer algorithms, because in India, the patent, as per the Patent Act per se, uh, patents are not granted to software, doesn't have a patent grant to them, right? But there are algorithms which run. Sometimes for computer algorithms, most of them suggest that it is copyright, right? But when it is regarded to be a trade, like if it is aiding you in your trade, if it is able to build a product on that, and if the firm is able to survive on that, then computer algorithms would be safer when they are kept as a trade secrets rather than disclosed. Because computer algorithms, there is no much know-how which goes on into these algorithms. Whenever these algorithms are displayed on a free basis, like people can adopt those algorithms and run on their samples itself, right? There need not be much know-how which goes on unless and until if it is a patent. If it is a device, it has some know-how or the other. But if it is a computer algorithm, a simple program to run the program for which it is meant to, you will not have much tweaks and ifs and buts for them to learn, right? So it can be adopted. There had been many instances where people have taken the computer algorithms that are freely available and have embedded them in most of the devices, right? So there is no point in storing your computer algorithms as copyrights and unless the need arises. But what are the circumstances of losing a trade secret? I have a trade secret, but how do I lose my trade secret? How, at what risk I am? Whenever negligent disclosures are made, whenever I make a agreement which is absolutely negligent in nature, then I lose the edge of a trade secret. The other thing where I lose it, reverse engineering. Initially, a trade secret, no matter how sophisticated a drug molecule is, a reverse engineered process of making the drug molecule was a sort of thing that we practiced very, very much earlier, before 1995, before we signed the TRIPS agreement and all. Right. So reverse engineering always is a path to break out a trade secret. And in pharma industry, it had been practiced at a very much larger extent, for which we have to actually go with TRIPS, the GATT agreement, under which TRIPS also was one of the cases, right? And the other thing, circumstances of losing, as I said, it is patenting. Whenever people have patents, it's valid, worth more than a trade secret, and we lose our trade secret there as well. So we'll discuss just few of the cases, right, in the trades technical space. So there is one company in the Western states itself, in the Western countries itself. So what happened was, this company actually manufactured these stunts. Heart, whenever there is a closure of a vessel, they put up the stunts in order to have a healthy heart, the pump system and all. So whenever these stunts are placed, not every stunts, as I told you, not each and every device would go for a patent. Some part of it would be stored as a trade secret as well. So this company, what it did was, when it stored this, it manufactured the stunt, it actually released the stunt. But on this stunt, it coated a medicament. Coating a medicament onto the stunt is a cumbersome process, because the chemical structures itself have to be altered to such an extent that the coating should be intact to this stunt layer. At the same time, whenever these coats are there, it should release also in the blood, right? After these are placed inside the heart, the coating should release and it should provide the necessary medical benefit. So this company called St. Jude, it actually manufactured this stent, and it had a coating of a certain drug on this stent, and which had a medical effect when it is placed inside the heart. Right. And this process of coating the medicament onto the stent was kept as a trade secret with them. Nobody knew except the manufacturer. Right. Whenever this was given to the manufacturer, it was a third party manufacturer who manufactured the coating process for them under few obligations. So he actually polished, or he actually coated the stunt with this particular medicament, and then gave it back to this company. Now, the senior level employees had access to what the medicament was and how the coating process was being performed. Right. So there was a guy who came out of the firm in a very senior most position. He went back to China, and then one day, all of a sudden, the manufacturers called the St. Jude people, informing that we got a similar kind of stunt manufacturing thing which was given as it was done to you, and the person name seems to be familiar. Now this team went there And when it dug up the information, it was able to find out that this person who gave them this project was the same person who actually was with their firm few, few times back. And when it actually dug up all the information, now this person who once worked with Senju came out of it, went to China, started a company there in the same stance, and then he gave this manufacturer the same coating procedures. So at that point of time, the this breach of the he was in a position where he had in access to all the information, but he misutilized that. So this was actually proved, and then the penalty also was much more. He went to jail. He had to pay huge fines, and apart from that, he has to shut down the company which he opened there. So this was the extent. This was the largest. It was in some millions of dollars that the penalty was paid back. So this was the largest case in with huge fines with respect to trade secrets. And there was another case similar to these lanes with Sirona Dental Systems, where a lady was involved. She was in a higher position. And when she came out of the firm, transitioning the firms when you know a critical information also is a very headache involved procedures there. Because always it's a double-sided coin. People might always think that you have misutilized or misplaced or did it something to your benefit, right? So absolute measures as to see that you are not stamping on the confidential information or not misutilizing them also is a must when you go to a key positions in any of the firms that you work with, especially where they have very sensitive information and so on. But this lady, fortunately, she escaped the case because there was no, it was only the job transitioning that she made into the competitive firm, but she was not really misutilizing or, taking advantage of her own of these known trade secrets. So this lady was lucky enough to come out of it. Right. So how much would it cost? Yes. Uh, how extensively is it known internally is always a matter to decide the damages. The other damages, the other measure that I told, what measures, what general safeguarding precautions have the owner taken? That also would be of much importance in deciding what are the costs and how valuable is your trade secret actually is also one of the factors that paves a way to guess the cost whenever the breach happens. Like how much fines do you have to levy? How we calculate that is what's the value of it, how much loss has it incurred. So all these things do come into account. So, the other thing, uh, how much time, effort, or money has been spent in development, that also can be taken into picture. And how hard and expensive will it be for others to go through the same cycle because of the appreciations and depreciations of the economy and the things like that. These also will be considered when you calculate the amounts of loss that happens in violation of a trade secret. So trade secret is really very small, simple subject when it comes to IP, but the implications or the importance of trade secret as such are very big in nature. So it depends on how we take this about and how we actually do it. So any doubts, I think I'll be much happy to answer.
Thank you, Himabindu, for your very lucid and very explanatory talk. Hope our students got benefit out of your vast experience in this business. My dear students, it is also, she is not only a lecturer who taught you today, but she is also very successful entrepreneur, woman entrepreneur. And she was also like you people, student of this region, Andhra University, Geetham, I think this region, and I think ultimate goal should be you should become an entrepreneur. That is what I always preach. The times are much better now compared to our olden days. So everything is available for you. The kind of mentorship, the kind of financial support, the kind of incubation centers. So the situation is much better compared to 20, 30 years back, you know. So this is very pious evaluation of a human being as an entrepreneur. And Himabindu and her husband, both of them are very role models for all of you in this region. And you can also meet here. She is an expert in this IP and she started her own venture based on the intellectual property rights services. She provides IP services to almost the entire state. She is the only and the first entrepreneur to provide IP services in our state. And she has been doing extremely well. And I urge some of you to join there as interns, and she may be even able to help you even getting some jobs also if you are able to meet her expectations and demonstrate your skill sets, passion, and commitment. You know, so it is a very growing organization, very fast growing organization, and is a great role model for all of you. So make use of asking her good questions. You know, trade secrets is such an important subject which is not covered as per the traditional IP laws, as Himabindu said. It is only covered under contract law. You know, so I observe, you know, people who are introvert, you know, who do not speak much. In fact, they will be very successful people in working in an organization where trade secrets are weapons, you know, are the strategic tools for them. So the Trade Secret Act also tells you you should not reveal unnecessarily the information is known to you. You know, you are supposed to disclose to the extent what is required as per the law or as per the direction, as per the company's policy. And as Himabindu said, everybody need not know everything about the technology or the business activities. So it's very important, not only in trade secret business, for that matter, in any business, the confidentiality, the secrecy is very important. As a students, we are habituated to talk everything under the sun, you know. But that, okay, as a student, it is fine. You enjoy it. But when you join in an organization, in a business organization, the secrets of the business you should not reveal, and you should talk only what you're supposed to talk, what you're authorized to talk. You should not talk all that knowledge of the company or the business you come across, you know. That is not ethical. It is in fact unethical. So these are some of the things which you all learned from today's lecture. And many times, you know, when you go for interviews and examinations, they will also ask, give an example, you know, of a trade secret. So all of us, you should know the best trade secret as of now in the world is the Coca-Cola, I suppose. If I'm wrong, you can correct me, Hima. The Coca-Cola is one of the best trade secret. Every day, millions of people consume that, but nobody knows what is the formula behind it. And it's such a simple thing, but they were able to maintain that secrecy since ages, maybe more than 70, 80, or even 100 years. I don't know exactly, but it is quite old trade secret. It's one of the best example for a trade secret. If somebody asks about, can you give an example of a trade secret? In fact, this question was asked to me when I appeared for an interview as a head of technology transfer and marketing in one of the DST lab, Government of India. So these are very important, and hope all of you got benefit out of it. But I could appreciate only if you ask at least a dozen questions to madam about not only trade secret, anything on IP. She is a encyclopedia of intellectual property rights. She deals with all types of intellectual property right, and she is very passionate and she is very helpful and very kind to particularly to promote IP in academic community. So make use of her presence today. She's so busy, you know, even I have to call at least half a dozen times to talk to her. She's so busy with her clients in India and abroad. Having come to our class today, make use of her presence and ask some good questions, get your clarifications, so that we all will be happy for our efforts to bring such a reputed resource persons to you, so that you will get the maximum benefit out of their experiences. So please go ahead with the questions the way you used to ask every day. Don't hesitate. Whatever comes to your mind, ask. It's very, very important. As I told you, when you want to ask a question, a lot of physical chemical changes takes place in your mind, heart, body. It's not that easy to ask questions also. But at the same time, try. So try and make use of this opportunity. Ask any silly question, doesn't matter. We'll be very happy to answer it. Please have some questions. So that, it is like in our Andhra, unless you have a curd rice at the end, the meal is not complete, So the same way, unless you have some good questions, the deliberations, the talk, the resource person will not be happy without having some good number of questions. That is a hallmark or an indication that you all listened to her carefully and you have applied your mind and you asked some questions. That is very, very important. Please do that. I think some questions are there, madam. You can
yes,
see.
sir. Yes, sir. One question I found a very good question from Achala Singh. Ma'am, WhatsApp or Facebook or Instagram for privacy and policy, does it come under any kind of trade secret? We'll just do a small sort of exercise. Now, for having a WhatsApp, what should one need? They should have an app design, right? Now, this app should have physical representation, means it should have something whereby one opens that app, it should appear in a certain format. One should be able to access it, and in the background, we will have some computer program written, right? Now, for WhatsApp, immediately in our Play stores or in our iStore, whenever we go and search for that app to download it in the mobile, now you will have that icon, the WhatsApp icon, green color icon will be there. Now that icon can be filed as your trademark. Fine. Now, behind that, in order to use that, we will say agree, agree, agree. We will just be tapping on those, right? जो भी आया, like whatever it comes, we'll just tap agree. I agree to this. I agree to this. I accept this. I accept this. So these are some sort of agreement policies. Whenever we enter into that, right? So these policies and things they are openly discussed. They'll give you the entire thing. You accept it. You accept the policy. You tick accept. You tick agree. So these are copyrightable matter. The policies that they have, the things that they write, these are not new. The same policy even Facebook will be having. The same policy even Instagram can have. The same policy even insurance can have. The same policy to anybody whom sign policy can imbibe the same conditions and features, right? So it belongs to them. The way they express the bond between you both, right? So this policy will come under copyright if they wish to file it. And the process, WhatsApp indeed or the Facebook was the indeed first kind of app that came out in the social media, right? So for that thing, you will have a patent. And for the background content, how this should run, what this should run, algorithms that go, they can either go as a copyright. But as I told you, copyright matter, you'll be finding it anywhere. And anybody can replicate it. So for that reason, they will hold it as a trade secret. So you have multiple portions to which the whole idea will be divided, segregated, and be stored in order to effectively run the business. It is not only one IP that makes the entire business stand up. The second question, how can I bring suit against trade secret infringer? Whenever there is a breach of trade secret, you can immediately approach the lawyer or the mail immediately to stop the action, and then we can go and enforce saying that a trade secret violation has been done. But mind you, all these cases are civil in nature. They are not criminal offenses, right? And yeah, using contract law, it's very apt. Contract is the one which deals with. What are the other remedies available in common law countries. They have their own. Say, for example, in US, everything they have a proper procedure where all things are, already taken care of. Say, for example, now in India, the moment people buy phone, you will receive n number of calls coming from marketing agencies, right? You will receive n number of messages coming from bulk messages that usually be throwing as a but in US there is one of the act anti there is one law I just forgot about that act, but according to this it is a privacy act that governs as soon as you get a number you can immediately subscribe to that, and if after subscribing to that if anybody will send you messages you can sue them. So law is that kind of evolved there. So it depends on remedies. There are n number of remedies like fines, penalties. It would be subjective to jail, sometimes injunction. So it depends on the kind of nature of or the subject matter that has been violated or breached. Uh, and how can you prove that somebody infringed? It depends on your CC cams. Whenever theft happens at home, how would the police investigate? Somebody sees that a theft has happened at their home, and it is the burden of proof lies on the owner saying that there really had been a theft. The fingerprints they would be collecting, they would be searching for the keys. If there is an almara, they would be asking you where you kept the keys, and they would be similar ways when a theft of confidential information happens, you must be able to tell them what measures you have taken care of. Say, for example, if it is in our office, we are very bad. We don't give them laptops. It is only desktops that they have to work. We don't give them any personal mail ID. There will be no social sites that they will be able to access at their workplace. Right? No CD drives, no pen drives, no USB drives, nothing will be working. So it depends on what measures we take. In spite of that, if somebody will dwell, say for example, the Titus case, I told you about a lawyer, right, where he had his juniors working. So what he was able to prove in his case was, he was able to prove that there had been a theft. One of the junior lawyers have entered the office at late hours and had taken from the LAN network, he had taken a CD drive of all the material, and he was also able to send offline, mails also, and it was proved. So, in this case, the Diljit case, actually, it was argued. The case was taken up by Arun Jaitley. So he argued the case on behalf of.
Mr. Govindra, please mute yourself. You are disturbing us. Mr. P.
So,
Govindra,
so
I've
it
been
depends
warning
on.
you repeatedly. Yeah.
So it depends on our so the nature of the breach, and then we will be able to tell how. So it depends on proving CCTVs or through network. Anything it can happen. Common law action for breach of confidency. It is only the contract law that actually holds. Nowadays, ignorance of law is no more given clause to escape anything. No, you can't tell that. But you should have your agreements in place. If, remedies in common law, how can bring? Yeah. Law that comes under Trademark Act actually governs Trademark Act 1999. Actually, that governs all the trademark issues and things. Yeah, trademark laws of the country. Non-disclosure agreements, yes. Non-disclosure agreements, they help to some extent. But what is a confidential agreement has to be defined. There is once a case where recordings or, simply we talk over phones, and that, when we give out the confidential, like we actually define what the confidential information was, and we actually did not include the voice messages to be included in that. So anything that goes out digitally over the phone, you just can't claim it. Right? Any Indian case, yeah. All the cases that I told, the American Express case, it is the Indian case that happened in Delhi. And the Arun Jaitley case, he argued for Diljit Titus case that we discussed about the lawyers, that also happened in India. All these two cases were in India itself. There are many cases in India, nowadays they are strengthening this. Recently, we have prepared most of the policies to Vizag-based firms, which had offices at US, and R&D work like product development will happen in Vizag, but their employees are made to sign on several different forms. We just have prepared most of the forms with this regards. So no matter where you go, just be aware of what forms are you signing. And then only, as sir said, talking about the projects that we deal with, we take pride in ourselves when we talk about the works we do. But we are not supposed to disclose everything to everybody. So there are certain restrictions to be held in place. We have to follow that. Right. And as sir said, yes, I basically am a science student. I'm not even an engineer at the first instance. I did my, BPC in Inter. And from there, I actually wrote MSET and I have entered pharma. And from pharma, I just, it was the last year when I did my MTech. It was the last chance where pharma from BPC were allowed to pursue MTech engineering at Geetham itself. So I just completed my MTech there. And I did a very multidisciplinary course, pharma, BPC, pharma, and then biomedical engineering, and then IP. The moment I was relieved, I was into IP all these years. Yeah, it was very new to me, and it was very hard to me as well. When we started the firm, it was very, very new to this Vizag. I faced many problems, even to take loan. I have to describe them what a patent was, what a research document was to the bank managers. Nobody understood anything. I had orders in my hand, but nobody would entertain that. Slowly as time evolved, then we learned about various loan procedures. Slowly we understood that the passion of doing itself would matter. It is not the money that matters when you wanted to establish your own firm. And lately, I felt it was very a minute part. Even today, we don't feel that we achieved much more. But when I really see Purushottam sir, I feel if I do one meeting, attend one meeting per day, I think that it's my day. I have done much more. But when you see prominent personalities like Purushottam sir, even in this age, he keeps on running. He tries to do something or the other to the public. He'll have no benefit out of it, I'm sure. But he, at least that satisfaction or that passion which drives him, I think this has to be in everybody's mind. It's not just we come to the class, take the, recordings and just go. No, nothing of that sort. But to have an impact is the thing that everybody should think about. And definitely, yes, we have positions open for interns. And if please submit any interested candidates can submit their resumes at your IP office. I think we'll collect it, either we'll disturb sir in collecting the resumes, because we need people, especially from botany or sciences background right now. So it will be very helpful for us if you can just participate. But as sir said, we are not so very good. We will make.
Some voice problem. We're not able to hear. Chaitanya or Manikanta, who is there at Hetman? Chaitanya? Mr. Chaitanya? Or at Manikanta, who is there at the admin? Maria. ఎక్కడ కట్ అయిపోయింది కంటిన్యూ అవుతుంది కదా ఇంకా ఇట్ అయిపోలేదు హలో
Hello, sir, I'm able to hear you.
యా
Yeah.
మేడం ఇది చైతన్య మన చైతన్య Manikanta, Edwin from Andhra University Computer Center.
Yes, sir.
I think some problem, technical problem.
Yes, sir. I just
Yeah.
have
Hello.
stopped sharing my video because the bandwidth is more. Now I'm clear on. Hello, sir. I'm able to hear you.
Yeah, just then conclude it, Emma. Hello. Hello.
Sure, sir.
Yeah, you can.
There is one more question from
Not able to hear you.
non complete agreement. Hello. Uh, uh, sir, are you able to hear me, sir? Hello. Sure.
Hello.
Uh,
I think
so
some bandwidth problem
there
at your end.
is one
Hello.
more question from Ashok regarding non-compete agreement. See, non-compete agreement, of course, is a kind of agreement. Now, sir. Now, sir, able to hear me now? Hello. I think there is. Sir, are you able to hear me now?
Yeah.
Yes. There is one more question.
Yeah.
There is one more question regarding the non-compete agreement. Non-compete agreement is not related to actually trade secret. It will not hold your trade secret. Non-compete such that, see, I prepare an invention, or I work on something which fall in the similar interests of the second person, right? But we both try to go in the market together. Then we usually sign a non-compete agreement. So it actually is not a thing which will hold trade secret, but it will help us run a smooth sail when we both get into doing business. So that's it. I think that's it from my side, sir. So
Yeah.
we can conclude this if there are no further doubts.
If there are no questions, then we can probably close it. But I would like to just give one more information. See, any product, if it is embedded with more number of IPs, and that product would be more robust in its protection, For example, if you take the Coca-Cola itself, the formula inside contents are protected through or maintained through trade secret. The bottle is the design. You all know that industrial design, the shape, physical appearance. Similarly, the way they write, the Coke and all those things, and also that is a trademark. And also they write to the remaining things below that, that is all copyright. So generally, most of these products will be protected through, it is possible to protect through more than one IP. As we discussed, even for example, the other day I was also mentioning about the toothpaste. The Colgate toothpaste, if you see, the paste is composition is protected through patent. The way they write the Colgate, the logo, that is a trademark. And they write the other language in that, about the benefits or some communication takes place. That is through copyright. And the tube itself, the shape of the tube, it is again protected through design. Generally, most of these consumer products are protected through minimum 3 to 4 intellectual property rights. The more it is protected through different types of intellectual property rights, so it is more robust, and people cannot try to infringe such kind of a products or a packaging or the copyrights or the designs. So that gives a better protection for the business. Okay, I think we can close the today's session, and let us meet tomorrow at the same time, 5 o'clock, with another renowned guest speaker for tomorrow's talk. Thank you, madam, for your time, and really we enjoyed and learned many things from you. See you again. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you all. Thank you, sir.
Yeah.